Hello. Good morning. Welcome. It's Character Ambassadors Forum today, the second edition for the year 2026. And today we're looking at a very exciting talk. We are looking at how to handle that mood where the useful team member feels used. It happens to the best of us. A lot of the times, you have this feeling, you have this mood, both mode and mood where you're feeling like, oh, I think I'm giving too much for whatever is coming out of it. Sometimes some people feel it for credible reasons, and sometimes, as you find out in my pep talk today, some people's feelings are actually unfounded. I was with a CEO of a fairly big real estate company recently, and he was telling me that he traveled in from where he was based, and then he was surprised to find out how that many of the people who he believed were not productive enough were talking about themselves feeling exhausted. And so he wondered, you're feeling exhausted over what? I can't see productivity. So you see, it's always two sides of a coin. That moment when you, as a team member, you are feeling used, there are things you need to check so that you don't follow that journey and run your career or your journey down. If you're coming across this video at any point in time across any of our platforms and you have questions, since it is on the platform of Character Ambassadors Forum, it's our free platform, it's for advocacy, it's to enable and empower public people to be able to gain. So it's like a corporate social responsibility for us. And we host this once every 2 months. This is the edition for April, and the next one will be in June by the grace of God. So if you'd like to be a part of it, feel free to contact us on 081 061 20 819. That said, I'll go right into the talk. So usually the way it works at the Character Ambassadors Forum is that I launch the conversation for the day with a short teaching. And then that opens up to all of the areas, and individuals talk about their realities, and then I and a few other persons in the room support them to get clarity and then help them to know exactly what to do differently from there. That's how we empower people. And today, the empowerment is strongly for team members who are very useful, very dutiful. And then sometimes you just feel like, no, it feels like I'm not valued enough. It feels like I am being used. The word there is useful but feeling used. So my pep talk is on how to handle the feeling used mood, how to handle the feeling used mood, how to handle the feeling used mood is the topic of this short talk. The first thing, like I said earlier on, to do is to understand the feeling used mood. What is it about? At what point do you feel used? How credible is that feeling? If you do not ask and answer some of those questions, you might just be living in a world of self-deception. You could even be in an overrated situation where you're thinking of yourself more highly than those who are supposed to review, evaluate, or reward you are thinking. So feeling used must be put side by side. What are the goals that were set for you? What's your KPI? What are your job descriptions? And then put them side by side, effectiveness, productivity, and all of those high level rating. That's the only time you can credibly look at being used or whether you are useful. Usefulness for most entrepreneurs and employers must settle in the issue of productivity. If you think you're useful, but you're not productive, a lot of employers will tell you that that is not being useful at all. Talk less of feeling used. So now let's try to create a balance by looking at how to handle that feeling used mood. Number one, that feeling used mood requires you to have a holistic approach to understanding and managing that feeling of being used. You need a holistic approach to understanding first and managing the feeling of being used. And then you can quickly go through a six-part framework. It's nothing major. And then it's going to rule everything that I'll be talking about with you. There's a six-part framework that includes 6 hours that can lead you on a journey of self-reflection and empowerment. So self-reflection is essential. Every time you have that mood, a lot of people have come into that system and into that um, circle, and because they didn't find guide that could help them, some people left the job halfway. Some people were just this close to being rewarded for all that they've been doing all their years. And because the feeling of being used set in and they didn't get proper guide, they jolted off that platform before they could get adequately rewarded. Let me say this quickly. I'm not trying to cajole you by talking about being rewarded. Nobody can fully reward you for your value. You must own the feeling of value by yourself. Whether someone says that to you, owns up to that or not. So you must understand your value. Now, the sixth R is retrospect. Retrospect will look back at the journey, be able to holistically look at your journey. The other one is reason. So retrospect means you're looking back. How did I start? What was I meant to be doing? What was I employed for? What has it become? And then you reason. Reason means that you're trying to understand what your expectation, what the expectation is about you. So your reasoning, what is this that I am supposed to be doing, and how far have I gone? So on that reasoning, you have to be very sincere. A lot of people can mark themselves 100%, when as a matter of fact, life will not mark them 30%. You cannot be that kind of person and do well for yourself. To do well for yourself, under reasoning, which is the second R, you will look at everything dispassionately. You will tell yourself the home truth about moments when you were probably not looking the part or not acting the part, and then maybe you were taken or mistakenly for something else in the workplace that you believe you should not be. The other one is recognize. So come to the recognition of, be able to recognize the odds, recognize the pluses, be able to tell what stands out for you and what doesn't. Then realize the truth of where you are, which is the next, and now respond to the situation. So in responding to the situation, some people react rather than respond. React is when you take things off the proper way it should be. So you should respond to the situation. You'll find out the details of all of that shortly. And then the next one is to revise. If the journey you took in your own framework did not lead you to revive, then I'm sorry, you didn't make a good success of that mood. That means the mood took you over. You didn't take charge of it. There's a need to be able to take charge of that mood because it can run you from being somebody who's doing 100% to zero. Like you just come to that point where you feel like, I don't even want to do anything again. But you see, whatever you do or you don't do, remember, as I always will tell myself, it's about you. So you must look out for yourself above all. Now, let's do a quick deep check to review yourself. I gave you that six framework. You can continue to use it every time you are in that mode. Look, the feeling of being used can happen again and again and again. It can happen till you get to that point where you don't want to feel that feeling anymore because you already know the benefit. You know how to see the benefit out of anytime anybody uses you or anytime anybody makes you feel used. What actually the thing about feeling? How does it come about? What does feeling used look like? Let's see all of that quickly. All right. So in my next point I want to share with you, I'm helping you see this. Before reaching that point where you are reacting, remember I said when people don't respond, they react. Before you react, take a moment to do honest self-reflection. This is where a lot of people are very untruthful to themselves. Everybody else can reflect for them, tell them the home truth, but they can't tell themselves the truth. I believe that you are not one because as character ambassadors, we are supposed to be able to self-reflect, self-assess, and it's a major part of what we do or who we are. So before you react, take a moment to do honest reflection. These prompts will help you assess whether your feelings are grounded in reality or they are influenced by other factors in or outside of you. A calm introspection will lead you to clearer understanding. I left a few points here. You may find it true that truly it could be true when you review. You could find out that it is true that you are being used. It has left feeling now. You are found out. Why? Because you introspected. You can find out that you are being that there's an acknowledgement of a possibility of you being used. And being used can sound like another form of being abused. Because if being used is negative, it's an abuse. But if being used is positive, then it is a platform to launch greater things. Because when you are being used, you become useful. But you are being abused, you become useless for yourself ultimately. When you are being used positively, you become useful for yourself ultimately. But when you are being abused, you become useless for yourself and for everyone. So you need to check and be sure, am I being used and becoming useful on account of being used? Or am I being abused such that I'm becoming useless ultimately for myself and for others? That's important. So you can find it to be true. Number two, you could find that it's just a strange and fake feeling that is not valid. Honestly, that is possible. You find out. It may also be unfounded and overrated because it doesn't add up to the expectations of those who employed you. Number four, you could find out ultimately that you are becoming useful and so it's good for you. You could find out that this feeling used is making you better. So when you do your research, when you do your review, you can find out, oh, yes, truly I'm feeling used, but guess what? I have grown. So if you could find out when you check that, you have become better because people are using you. So today they thought they are using you. It would be like when Joseph said that they meant it for evil, but God turned it around for good. You could find that, but you will not know except you do a sincere, deep, critical review. Another thing you can find out is that you might find that there is simply a desire for more. Sometimes when people feel like they need to be rewarded more, they equate it for having been used because they don't see the reward that they expect. And then finally, you could find out that it was triggered by a growing lack of capacity to match even. So you see, doing this research is so important, this review. Sometimes it is only that the thing inside of it telling you that you don't measure up, you are not good enough, or you are beginning to see around you the fact that you have not been giving your best. So the feeling of being used can also be an indicator of you not having enough capacity. So you feel used, worked up, burnt out. Meanwhile, the people looking at you are saying, we can't see what you're doing. So you are like that man that is everywhere. To take a recourse against the Bible. Someone was given a job to watch a particular person that this guy must not escape. And guess what? The guy said, when I was going up and down, feeling used, the guy ran away. That was a case of somebody who was busy, beautiful, but was not productive. That's why I say that it's important to start your journey from looking at all those. So if it is overrated, these things will happen. Did you overrate it? Listen, before concluding that you are being used, pause and evaluate the validity of your feelings. Sometimes our perceptions need a reality check to distinguish between genuine concern and emotional reaction. So sometimes it can be emotional. How do I know if my own feeling is emotional or whether it is valid? Whether I should press on to respond, to ask for revival. Number one, if it is others that said it to you, Kai, this one happens a whole lot. People just look at you and say, oh my God, In Yoruba, it means that someone is calling you the child or the sibling or the family of the owner of the business. That is, the way you are doing, only somebody who has a stake in this business will be doing like that. So people can push it to you. What? How did you begin to feel used? Was it someone who said something? Did someone say something like, you sleep, you wake up in that place, you go from morning till night, we don't see anything. So if it comes from someone, don't fly with it yet. External feedback can spark that thought. That's number one way you can know whether it needs validity check. Number two, if it's just a feeling that won't go away, then you need to check. Persistent but unverified. So sometimes you can have a persistent feeling. There are moments when the best of person feels lazy, like you just have a season when you feel like relaxing. Or meanwhile, your goals are waiting. The goals of the organization are waiting for you. Then another third reason why you might be overrating it and need to check critically is if you just begin to start feeling like, I want more than this. When you say you want more than this, nobody can argue with you. But the truth is, in saying that to yourself, does your organization feel the same way? Does your employer feel the same way? It is possible that you have found your worth and you are confident in the value that you bring, and others are yet to. Guess what? I am not here to put out your feelings. I'm just saying that give it a critical look so that at the end of the day, you will not goof. If it is worthy of attention, you will find these things happening. So I wrote here, it is not worthy if these things are repeated, if these things I'm about to read now, right? And even more, but these are the things I could write down. If these things I'm about to read out are repeatedly or consistently happening, then know that you are being used in a way that means abuse. Number one, ground. When these signs become patterns rather than isolated incidents, they signal a serious concern that deserves your attention and action. Trust what you consistently observe. So, number one, if you are being asked to do menial and domestic or odd jobs, for instance, if you are employed as a manager and your job has nothing to do with executive assistant or personal assistant, or housekeeping, and all of a sudden you notice a particular superior always asking you to do menial, odd, or domestic job. Go help me bring my daughter from school. Go help me cook soup in my house. Go help me say this to my husband. And it's totally off your official work. And it's not as if you have a relationship with that person that could give that kind of thing a chance. Number one thing. Once you see that, you need to settle down and care about what you're observing. Don't let it fly because that's an abuse possibility, right? Number two, if they never count during your assessment. So if the things you are being asked to do never count for you in assessment, when you are giving job descriptions and key performance indicators, usually there's an assessment that tells you whether you hit the marks or whether you did not. If the things that you are being asked to do on a consistent, repeated basis at work, they never add to your assessment. Watch. If they never add to your assessment, the next one is if they are beginning to affect your actual role. If the things you are being asked called to do by a particular superior is beginning to affect your actual role, the things that you should be doing, the things you are paid to do, the things you are assessed based on, the things you are going to answer for, beginning to affect it. Watch. The next one. If excessive hours are being put into those kind of jobs without any perks attached, excessive is the word. So everybody gets to spend extra hours on their job, one time or the other. But I'm saying when it's consistently excessive hours without any perks, perks in this sense, no rewards. Remember that it has to be a combination of many of these things for you to know that you are being abused. And when you are being abused, you are going to be useless for yourself, useless for your rating, useless for your assessment, useless for your evaluation, useless for even your when you're writing your CV. Things you cannot put in your CV. You can't say, I go to buy food, I go to do this. Buying food is not a wrong thing. Don't get it twisted. But I'm saying that these are telltale signs. When they do not add up to the main thing by which you be assessed, watch it. Excessive hours consistently taken from you without perks to do all of those things that may not even add to your assessment. The next one is work overload. Remember, it's not just picking one of these things that means being abused. And one item can be similar in manifestation to being useful, to becoming useful, pardon me, and becoming abused. Work overload for some people can be their baptism into becoming more useful for themselves. But you see, where work overload is in the areas I just mentioned now, not related, not adding up, not giving a plus, then you need to watch it. The next one is when you are never acknowledged for those things or appreciated. When you are never acknowledged for those extra. Remember, I said a lot of the time they are actually menial jobs, they are domestic jobs. So it is a collection. Once you can notice like three of these things interrelating together, watch. So if you see one, don't mistake it yet. Until you can pick a collection of minimum three, maximum five, you are sure that you need to check and be sure what's going on around you so that your psychological state does not begin to suffer and your mental health does not begin to suffer and you don't begin to also feel like you're stuck because it can create a feeling of being stuck ultimately. So if you are never being acknowledged, if you have never, like you're in a meeting and the person who makes you do this job has never said, oh, I wish to thank this person for always looking out for me in this area. Meaning that it's probably you and them that knows that you do those extra. That's a sign to watch. The next thing is when the person who makes you do this job, pardon me, gives you demeaning, addresses you in a demeaning manner, has a demeaning manner of addressing you. Maybe even when they want to ask you to do it, they just talk to you like God didn't create you. Wow, that's a signal. That's a signal. So you see, feeling used doesn't start and end with the feeling. You must check. You must check against these prompts. These prompts when they happen consistently. So are you being demeaned in the manner of address, even in getting those things done? The next one, which is similar, is verbal assault when there's an error around those things. Wow. Remember, these things may not even relate to your assessment. And then the day you make a mistake, they rain assaults on you for making an error around something that should not even be your main. Then watch. Then watch. Also watch how this makes you truly feel. Be able to take an assessment of your feeling on a more accurate basis. Check whether it's beginning to affect your health or your relationships. There are people who have been asked to do these extras that make them feel used or abused, and gradually they can't even be with their wife because this person is overbearing. They can't answer to things that have to do. They can't take care of themselves. They don't have weekends. They don't have weekdays. They don't have free times. And that's because they have to do this extra. Remember that there are extras to the extent that they are abused, to the extent that they do not add up, they do not reward you, you don't get acknowledged for it, and you are made to feel less of yourself for it. So it is beginning to affect your relationships or your health. Watch. When you are never recommended for promotion based on it. Because one of the reasons that people put themselves into work, like throw themselves into work is, I can be sponsored for, say, a promotion, I can be sponsored for an international trip, I can be sponsored, someone can stay in the room and speak for me. If it never comes to that, over a period, remember the word is consistently. Consistently. And finally, this is not all, but these are the 12. I've given you some like 10 ways to check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. 12 ways to check to know whether you are being abused on that job. So you don't just pick one. I gave you a guide. If it's up to 3, take it, pay attention to it. If it's up to 5, take action around it. So the final one is when you're feeling stuck away from your initial goal. When you're feeling stuck and you're feeling so far away from your initial goals. So what do you do when an abuse case has been established? When you can now convince yourself that, this is a case of being abused. Because it's an office space, you cannot behave anyhow in spite. You have to use plenty of wisdom and follow all the official means. So when you have confirmed, and maybe you have also asked people who have friends around you, I say who have friends because people will just see one thing and say, this person is using you. No, not too fast. Sometimes what look like use is a test to see whether they can put the weight of the business on you. And when you show that you are not trustworthy to that extent of sacrifice, they will withdraw that weight. So it's not about just one thing. It's about understanding it. And that's why we thought this important to talk about it at a forum where people don't have to pay, so that nobody will be found wanting. So when you have confirmed that the feeling you have of being abused is valid and consistent, it's time to take action. Your well-being and self-respect deserve protection. And here are 3 essential steps that I will recommend for you to consider to move forward. Number 1, speak respectfully on the issue. Speak respectfully about the issue. Address the concerns in a calm and clear way. Speak respectfully about the issue. Address the concerns in a calm and clear way. So who do I speak with? Who do I speak with? That's number 2, we answer the first question. Seek independent counsel. A place where you can get objective advice from trusted sources. So don't jump here to go and talk to that boss, that superior, that leader. Talk to people either within the workspace who have wisdom and can share trusted advice with you. And they can be objective. They can look at it dispassionately. They are not going to lie to you. And they are not trying to say something to you just so you can love them or stay with them. They are truthful. Seek independent counsel. Make sure that you have a robust way of presenting this before you go and talk about it. But you necessarily need to speak up, but do it respectfully. When you have spoken up and done it respectfully and giving time for there to be changed, or you have requested for a review in the way things are done, officially, respectfully, and you've given time, and there are no changes, or you are being victimized on account of it, then I will honestly ask you to leave if no change occurs. Leave if no changes occur. You need to prioritize your growth and prioritize your health. I hope that has been able to help you. And use the feeling used mode as a signal for growth and positive change. Every challenge is an opportunity to strengthen your self-awareness and build a more fulfilling path forward. You have the power to transform difficult experiences into stepping stones for a better future. Trust your feelings and assess them fairly. Don't forget. Your emotions are valid signals that deserve attention. Don't throw them away. Set healthy boundaries to protect your well being and preserve your energy for what truly matters. Seek support when needed. You deserve respect and you deserve guidance from those that truly care about you. That has been it. Thank you for being part of this talk. If you have questions, please leave it in the comments. We will respond to you and we'll be willing to work with you. But see, one of the things that's prerequisite for you to enjoy that kind of level of mentorship or guidance is to be a part of the Character Ambassadors Forum. The next edition we hold on June. Please check the date for me. June, and I'm going to check the date and let you know. It's usually the last Saturday of the month. So the last Saturday of the month of June at 11 a.m. You can join us from anywhere in the world. If you are not in Nigeria and you cannot attend physically, once you indicate that you're interested to be a part of it, we will send you the link to join. And it's usually interactive. So this is the pet talk part. The part of it that we will not be able to include here is the Q&A. But you can be a part of it live or leave your own questions or comments here, and we'll be so excited to be a part of it. Thank you so much. The Character Ambassadors Forum is a community of people that are taking accountability for one another. That is, we look over and after one another. So the next date is June 27th. Block it in your calendar, 2026, and it will be a great time. Thank you so much. My name is Bosa Demishola Obasa, and I'm the convener of Character Ambassadors Forum in support with First Royal Character and Values Limited RCD and Mind Your Character. If you have found this useful, do not forget to get in touch on 081 061 20819. God bless you and bye.